Good morning, Philippines. This is Teresa Zapanta Versosa.
Good afternoon, Seattle, and good afternoon to our viewers today from the Solomon Islands. This is Dr. Jude. We are actually in Power Philippines, and we are technically missionaries up until sometime in May when we created this Coffee Conversations project, sort of just bringing inspirational people of the faith as a way of a positive spin to what's happening in social media currently. Anyway, welcome. This is a very special episode of Coffee Conversations, special to me on a personal and a spiritual level, being educated and raised under the wings of the Salesian priests and brothers during my time in the Philippines. And today for our guest, we have one of the most beloved, one of the more beloved Italian priests during much of my younger years. Known to many as Father Capelli or Father Capo, he has fulfilled many roles in the Philippines, mostly for the youth, up until he obediently was called to follow a ministry, a very daunting ministry in the Solomon Islands. Anyway, would you like to introduce the bishop?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the introduction, we wanted to make sure that Bishop's audio is working. Anyway. Okay, so I will introduce Bishop and then we will welcome him. Most Reverend Luciano Don Capelli comes from the order of the Salesians of Don Bosco. Salesians because the patron saint of St. John Don Bosco is St. Francis de Sales. He is currently the bishop of the Diocese of Gizo, Western Province in Solomon Islands. Flying is the most practical and geographical way to minister to his sheep. He flies a small lightweight plane as part of his regular schedule to visit hospitals, schools, and communities, bringing medicine and basic necessities, and even the celebration of the Holy Eucharist. He has to fly the airplane to see his sheep. Hence, he is known as the Flying Bishop of the Solomon Islands, a nation of nearly 1,000 islands in Oceania. Bishop spent a big part of his Salesian life in the Philippines and is well admired for his humility and pastoral care for his students at Don Bosco schools, one of which was where Jude went to, and his brothers. If you're watching, his brother, making him known both by Bosconians and Solomon Islanders as the people's bishop. Today, as Jude, my husband, said, we feel special to be able to welcome this great, amazing, humble priest, bishop guy into our homes and the homes of the Filipino people. Please meet the pilot bishop of the South Pacific, Most Reverend Luciano Capelli. Bishop, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Bishop.
Okay, mabuhay po.
Good for you to join us.
Boy, okay, so you can hear me well, fine.
I can hear you.
Yes.
We can hear you very well.
It is a perfect.
Great, that's fine, that's great.
Bishop, let's start this. Could you tell us more about you, especially for those people who may not be familiar with who you are? Maybe let's start off with your younger years and your call to the priesthood.
First of all, I would like to say that humility is my greatest virtue, and I am proud of it.
That is awesome.
That is to put down a little bit what your wife said about my humility. Okay, so nice to thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this interest that you have in discovering Don Bosco and the people he, so to say, chose to be resources in his mission today. So my history is more or less like the one of Archbishop Pampilo. We come from the same mountain, only he comes from the other side of the mountain. I come from this side, but we are from the same Alps. We speak more or less the same dialect, and we love to play football. That's why we had a great experience together in football. So for me, my life was very simple. I would say, like Father Pamphilo, my family was very poor, like Don Bosco's family. We lived on our land and we learned the meaning of sacrifice, hard work, and to eat what we plant, what we harvest. It was a great experience immediately after the war.
Wow.
Right. That's how it began in 1947, 73 years old. By the way, tomorrow is the feast of Don Bosco, and he died at 73. So I feel I have reached his age already. Time to go to heaven to meet him there. But I'm not in a hurry.
Walking
like
his
that.
footsteps does not mean, Bishop, that you would die the same age.
Yeah, that's true. Let's hope to hold on a little longer.
Bishop, we forgot our tradition of starting this episode with a prayer. And I was
Yes.
wondering if I could invite Therese, my wife, to start off this program with prayer.
Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, so we
Please,
start.
Therese.
Yeah, we will start the prayer, and then at the end of this conversation, we would like for you to bless everybody. So, so the prayer. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Today, Almighty Father, we thank you for the gift and presence of Bishop Luciano Capelli. And as we enjoy a lighthearted conversation with this humble Salesian Italian bishop, we are reminded of the great Saint John Bosco, the defender and the champion of the young and the poor. Tomorrow, we celebrate the feast day of Saint John Bosco, who was inspired by one of the great reformers of the church during the Renaissance decadence, Saint Francis de Sales, the pastor of souls. So inspired that he founded schools for the youth and churches for the poor, and used Saint Francis de Sales as his patron saint. Today, through the presence of Bishop Capelli, you remind us that if we call ourselves Christians, if we identify ourselves as Catholics, we ought to be like him, like St. John Bosco, who was friendly and cheerful, but also valiant in his discipleship and never for once wavered in his faith for God and served Jesus Christ, his Redeemer, that he said, "Give me souls, take away the rest." This we ask through the intercession of Mary, help of Christians, and the power and mercy of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father,
Amen.
and of the Spirit. Amen.
All right. Well, I'm pumped up, Bishop, because we have pictures. This is going to be one of those things. So we were talking about your youth and how you grew up in the other side of the mountain in Italy. We have some photos that we could show, some black and white pics, maybe when you were much younger. Skylar, would you mind pulling those up? But as we do so, Bishop, would you mind talking about your family, your parents, and how you came to the vocation?
Right. So the historical time was 1945, was the end of the war. And my father stayed 5 years serving as a military man. So after 5 years, he came home and life was very tough, was very hard. And so he didn't want to have any other children. 45, 46, imagine, after the war. But my mother one day went for a retreat. It was preached by 2 missionaries. My mother is right there at the end with the small circle with
Okay.
my younger brother. That's the day of my first communion.
Wow.
All right. So my mother was fell in love with these 2 missionaries who were preaching so beautifully. And she went home and said, "I want a priest missionary."
Wow.
And my father said, "No, we agreed. No more children. We have 2 already. And so we have to wait." But my mother somehow, I don't know what method she used, but she won. And I was born. Right. I can say from my youth that what Jeremiah said, from the womb of my mother, you have known me, you called me to follow you. To me, that's a fact. That's really what happened in my life. And during that time of my first communion, which is that picture there, the parish priest asked us to write our resolutions. And my resolution was, I want to be a priest. So he read that, and everybody had a good laugh because I was a little naughty. No, I was small, but a little bit naughty. So they thought I would never make it. But so I took it as a challenge. And I entered the seminary very young. I was only grade 5. Grade 5, there was a group of missionaries who went around the villages asking the parish priest, is there any young boy who is thinking of becoming a priest?
Skylar, you can put back a bishop's face now.
So my parish priest said, yes, we have one. So they took me together with other 80 people for 1 month of camping, where you would discover what kind of boy is this, whether he's fit or not. So this group of missionaries were the Comboni fathers. They're very famous in Africa, also in the Philippines now. Well, after 1 month, they said, sorry, you are not fit to be a missionary. So I was rejected. Oh, I cried all my tears. And the reason they told my parish priest is in 1 month, he broke 3 pairs of shoes playing football. He is playing too much football. So I was desperate. Then fortunately, a Salesian passed by and asked the parish priest, is there any young boy who would like to enter a pre-seminary? And the parish priest said, we have one, but he was rejected by the Comboni fathers because he's playing too much soccer. Imagine in 1 month he broke 3 pair of shoes. And the Salesian said, wow, wonderful, that's what we need. Let's call him. And there is how I ended up in the seminary at the age of 12. At the age of 12. So, but we had a great time in the seminary, and we had very good professional educators. And that's where I met Archbishop Pamphilo. He was older, we were younger. He was with responsibilities. Imagine he could collect the plates at the end of the meal. Oh, that was a work of honor, you know. And because of that, they could drink a glass of wine. Hey, we were so jealous about them. Anyway, Archbishop Pamphilo and I had a beautiful time together there. And we were already playing soccer. I was goalkeeper at the time, and he was the center forward, always coming in front of me alone. So I would jump on his feet, and he would really, we would quarrel a little bit there.
We have a picture of that. We have a picture of that.
Yeah.
Bishop, we will show a picture to the audience of you and the Archbishop Pamphilo, in your younger years as a soccer team. So what position were you playing?
I saw that picture when you interviewed Archbishop Pamphilo. That was our team in the seminary. For the first time in history, we were allowed to play with short pants. And if you notice, our shoes, they were rubber shoes. this is during the Italian championship of the embassy. Well, this was a great game we had against the German team in Ugarte Field in Manila. And we were winning 1-1. At the end, they were able to shoot also, so we tied the game. But they won all the other games in the Philippines except ours. They were very cross.
We have a picture of your team with the Archbishop in your younger years. I was wondering if Skylar could pull it up, and maybe you could give us a little bit of a story about that.
Yes. That great team, Bishop Pamphilo forgot to say, we defeated the national team several times. The coach, Cutillas, with the national players, used to come and practice with us, and he never won a single game.
There you go.
There is Archbishop Pamphilo at the back, a tall one. There he is. And I am in front. I don't know if, oh, no, I'm not there in this one. Oh, yes, I'm the goalkeeper there. This was in our second or third year secondary school in Chiari, our beautiful seminary.
So you met Archbishop Panfilo in the seminary, but not before then.
Yeah, we met in the seminary. Yeah. Yes. He was 2 years ahead of me. And then I gained 1 year because at the end of the senior high school, I asked to go to the novitiate 1 year earlier. 1 year earlier, and they asked me, why would you like to go to the novitiate 1 year earlier, not after Form 5 or 5th year high school? But I went after 4th year high school. And just to tell you how we were motivated by the real motivation. So my motivation is I want to be a missionary. And if I go 1 year earlier, I will save more souls. Imagine that. That was the kind of formation we had, really, with conviction, with solid determination, which comes from our experience, I suppose, in our families and in our young education. We were educated to conviction and to values and to hard work, not I'm lazy tomorrow. No, I will try. That did not exist in our life. So that's how I ended up in the novitiate 1 year after Bishop Pamphilo. So I gained 1 year. Then he was supposed to go to South Africa. He could not go, so he came to the Philippines. And I also was assigned to the Philippines in 1965. So in November 1965, I reached the Philippines. That was, and I stayed there for 34 years, except the 4 years of theology, which I went back to Italy, so practically 30 years. But what was beautiful is we took up our college education in Canlubang. We are the first batch of graduates of Don Bosco College, Canlubang, batch 69. That is the first batch. Now they had so many other batches, but we were the pioneers. And what was beautiful, it was an international college. So we had people from States, brothers from England, and from Italy, from the Philippines. It was a beautiful coming together, a beautiful experience with our Don Bosco fathers who were sent out from China in 1951 during the Maoist revolution. So some of those came to the Philippines, and that's how Don Bosco Philippines was born. So in 65, they started the formation center in Canluban, and we went to make it an international experience. And I never regretted that. It was a great period of my life, studying in college, getting a college education, and Archbishop said he was major in history. I was major in social science, history also, and in minor in biology. So
Wow.
Bishop Drona was our dean, and he was teaching us how to dissect earthworms. Oh, we dissected so many. my term paper was on the earthworm. Then I taught in Mandaluyong for 1 year, my biology. That was a great year of experience, 1969-70. And I was called back to Canluban in 71 to be assistant of the brothers. And I was teaching Latin to all the brothers from first to fourth year. So I enjoyed myself so much. And in Don Bosco Mandaluyong, as a teacher of biology, as a brother, I was then about 21, 22 years old. So very, very young. And after that, we went back to Italy for theology. After 4 years, I came back and I stayed in Mandaluyong until 82, from 75 to 82. Then I became rector of Tarlac for 3 years, then came back to Mandaluyong as rector after Bishop Pampilo. And that's how my life was. Then I stayed in Don Bosco Hall for 1 year or two. I became in charge of formation and then provincial after Archbishop Pampilo. Then I asked him to go to Papua, and at the end of my term in 93, I myself asked to go to the place where there was more need of any missionary. So they told me Solomon Island seems to be the place. So I never heard Solomon Island, so I went in the map and I looked at it, and that was beautiful. I read Solomon Island. We set up Don Bosco, 2 Don Boscos, institutions, 2 schools, great schools. Then with the help of the volunteers from Italy, we also set up a small hospital 13 years ago. And in 2008, I came to Gizo Diocese. So here I am.
Bishop, I'm going to interrupt you here. I want to circle back to how football, as we know it in the Philippines, or soccer in the United States, really tied into your vocation. As a matter of fact, your skills in the Philippines was renowned, and we appreciated you playing soccer with us little ones, and at the same time providing confessions in between soccer games. And that was very impactful to me. And it's great to understand the role it played into your vocation. But I wanted to talk about your time in the Philippines, the 30-something odd years that you spent in the Philippines. What stuck with you, or what left? Do you have something that left an imprint in your life? What would you consider as memorable?
I think the most striking things to me in the Philippines, I noticed it when I was in Solomon Islands. So I have been in the school all my life in the Philippines. And when I came to Solomon Islands, I understood why. Being in the schools so long and being so involved in running the school, in working together with our lay collaborators, with the Salesians, in organizing and setting up a school, why did it happen to me in the Philippines? I understood it here. The Lord has trained me in the Philippines because He had a plan for me in Solomon Islands. It seems strange, but I would never have been able to build 2 schools and to start them and to organize them and to run them for 8 years, and unless I would have gone through those experiences in the Philippines. So what struck to me in the Philippines is God prepared me to come to Solomon Island to set up and run these schools. And when I came to a diocese, working not anymore as a Salesian, but as a bishop, I saw the school in a miserable state. And with my experience in the Philippines and in Oceania, the capital, and it was not hard for me to put the schools in order in the Diocese of Gizo, rebuild schools, and put in order all what was here before, forming the staff, and implanting the Don Bosco spirit in our schools here in the Diocese of Gizo. So I think that's what the most beautiful thing I remember about in the Philippines is God, through these experiences, He taught me how to handle young people. He taught me how to put up that system which we had in the Philippines, put it up in Solomon Islands. I was also in charge of Papua when I was provincial, and so how to revive Papua, which was in deep crisis, and how to set up Don Bosco here in Solomon Islands. Wow. When they asked me, okay, are you not sad to leave the Philippines? Pambihirang patis, sinabi ko. Siyempre naman, after 30 years, sino ba hindi malulungkot ng kaunti? Aalis na ako ngayon. Paano ba yung mga kaibigan ko? Iiwanan ko lahat.
Galing!
Hindi madali. Tapos, matuto kong magtagalog. Ano mangyari sa Tagalog ko? Pupunta ako dyan. Wala akong alam dyan sa mga sasabihin nila. Magiging foreigner na ako doon. So, but then I said to myself, I left my first country, will I get attached to the second country? Mm. And then another thing that inspired me is Don Bosco in Japan was set up by few Salesians. Don Bosco China, few Salesians. Then from Japan, they went to Korea. From China, they came to the Philippines. That's how God was moving us. So from Philippines, I am asked to go to Solomon Islands. It's part of God's plan. So that's what I carried away when I came here. I'm sure I am doing God's plan. And that was beautiful. I'm in His hands doing His plan. So I left my first country. Will I get attached to the second? No more. Let's go. And naturally, it's a different kind of life. I came to the Solomon. It was 1999, the last day of the century. Nothing, not even a paputok. Pambihira naman. Namimit ko yung mga paputok sa Maynila. Naku, yung last day of the year, napakagandang pakinggan yung mga paputok.
Alam niyo, ang magandang pakinggan, Bishop. Ang magandang pakinggan is yung Tagalog nito.
Ang galing yung mag-Tagalog, Bishop. You know, gusto ko sabihin sa inyo, pagka umuwi si Jude at pagod na pagod, paminsan hindi na siya ngumingiti kasi pagod. You know, kakain siya, tapos seryoso ng konti, tapos isang beses nag-text kayo. Tapos sabi niyo, ano yun? OA na yata to.
OA na yata to.
Yan, natawa siya. Tapos yung isa, bolero.
Bolero. Daming mga bolero sa mga Bosconians, you know.
Dami nila.
When I was in Mandaluyong in charge of the college as a spiritual director, I used to meet their girlfriends and try to see if we could have something together. And you know what the girls were saying? Father, mga Bosconian, hindi magaling na boyfriends. Pero napaka-ideal husband yan. Totoo ba yan, Jude?
Yung po,
ask me, Bishop, not don't ask me. Yes. Because I will tell you the answer.
If I ask you and you say no, you are in trouble.
Not really.
mahirap po yan, Bishop. Pero alam nyo, Bishop, naku, nagtagalog na tayo. Would the viewers in Solomon Islands be okay with this? Yeah. Alam nyo, Bishop, there are a ton of Bosconians here. You know, my brother, Nonny Versosa, Clarice Petesio, Albert Paglinawan, one of my batchmates, Silintan, Cesar Ejarta. There's even a guy who said that they had a band called the Capo Band. My brother was saying that they had a Capo tournament, which is a soccer thing. Edwin Faste.
My father bought.
So lahat ng mga bolero dito.
Bishop, can I just interrupt you? But alam niyo po, pag pinapakinggan ko kayo, yung story niyo of not just being a teacher and a priest in the Philippines, you actually were a student there, like deeply embedded, deeply rooted in the Philippines, so that even yung Tagalog nyo talagang Tagalog at hindi masakit sa tenga. So I'm really, yes, it's really
pati mga masasamang salita natutunan ko rin niya.
Sige, Bishop. That's another coffee conversation special. Okay. But Bishop, natutuwa po ko because your sense of the dedication to be a Bosconian Salesian priest, even now that you're a bishop, I will have to say, meeting Archbishop Panfilo and you, and this being Italian and also Salesian and also Filipino, it warms my heart, especially in today's world. Na humility is not going to be something that you will see a lot. Wanting to be with the poor, and you have said where the mission most that's needed, you take me there. Indeed, we don't usually see that. So Bishop, tell us about when you were ordained as a bishop and your coat of arms and how it penetrates into your ministry right now. Can you explain that a little bit?
Right.
So that was an interesting call at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was at home with my mother. It was Pentecost Sunday, and the phone rang at 5 o'clock. So I got up, I answered the phone. It was the nuncio. The nuncio said, the Holy Father has decided to appoint you Bishop of Gizo. What do you say? So I said, well, give me some time. I will pray about it, think about it, and I'll let you know. Wow. Yes, the Archbishop said. Padilla, Archbishop Nuncio Padilla, he said, I give you all the time, but don't put the phone down. So I didn't have much time to think. So, well, we said yes, we have a vow of obedience. Like when Archbishop Pampilo went to Papua New Guinea, last time he said it was not an easy decision. And I was the one who asked him. I succeeded him as provincial. So I asked him, after 3 years, he was rector in the seminary, would you like to go to Papua? And he became serious. Well, Archbishop Pampilo was very humble. He took it, he did his part. He went to Papua New Guinea, and I think Papua New Guinea was so much blessed with him. He has been so active in education. Also, he didn't want to study, but he became Bishop of Education, and then as an Archbishop, of course. So, going back to the question, I'm getting old. What was the question again?
Talk to us about your coat of arms.
Yeah.
Skylar, could you show it? The coat of arms
Your
for
coat of arms.
Yes. So Archbishop Amphilo had his Duc in altum, go to the deep. Myself instead, I met people who have been, so to say, telling me all their problems, especially in younger years in Mandaluyong. I was sought for confession, and that is beautiful. So my charisma, I think, that God gave me is the ability to listen, to empathize. So I wanted to put it there as a motto. And so the first words in Latin are sursum corda. What does it mean? It means lift up your hearts. Lift up your heart. So I think that's my ministry, to listen to people who are downhearted, pandemic or home problems or difficulties, and make them feel that they're understood, make them feel that there is no sin God doesn't forgive, make them experience God's forgiveness. So lift up your hearts. Don't keep on looking down, look up. And then the second answer, the second part of the question is, tibi bonum erit. And everything will be all right. Ano, itaas natin ang puso, tapos bahala na. Everything will go all right. But if you keep your hearts on top, then you see things from above. You don't get stuck in the problems. The problems are still there, but you have a different vision, a different motivation, a different purpose. You are not alone in the boat. Yes, there is the storm, but you are not alone. You have a good pilot with you, so huwag kang matakot. Everything will be all right. It's like what you say now in the Philippines, I suppose, stay home and everything will be okay. We will get out of this pandemic. So the purpose of my life is to be a living sign of the Lord Jesus, who forgives, who tells you, come on, ang sinabi mo, mga kasalanan mo, wala na yan. Hindi mahalaga yon. Ikaw ang mahalaga. Mabuti bumalik ka. Mabuti nag-confess ka. Alika, inuman tayo sa taas. Di ba ganon? So lift up your hearts. There is rejoicing in heaven when you come back. So don't get stuck in your problems. And then I put also, of course, we are from the mountains. So if you see it, there are two mountains, one mountain on one side and the ocean on the other. So from the mountains of Italy to the sea, to the ocean. And there is a beautiful valley there that represents my valley. I live at the bottom of the valley. Then Bishop Pampilo is on the other side. I am on this side. We live in the bottom. During summer, we go up the high mountain, but during winter, we stay down. And so that is well portrayed. Then there are three stars there. The stars are very important. It's a motto, the motto of the Olympic Games. Altius, Fortius, Citius. Three Latin words. One means higher. If you want to win the game, look up, have a real reason to live, to play the game. Second, Citius, faster. You want to win in the Olympics, you have to be faster than the other. And third, Fortius, you have to be stronger than the other. So it's a kind of challenge which comes, we could call them the three virtues: faith, Altius, hope, Citius. and love, virtues. So faith, hope, and love that gives meaning to life. It gives an orientation, it gives the motivation, it gives the courage to stand up again and to go on. It gives you the courage to leave the first country, to leave the second country, leave also the third if there is, because why? We are in the hands of God. And He is preparing us, He is giving us what we best need at that time of our life. If we need batog, babatugan ka. If you need support, isusuporta ka niya. If you need understanding, you will be understood. But God comforts the afflicted, but He also afflicts the comfortable. So that's our role too. As what I'm saying now, it's because this is Don Bosco in practice. How Don Bosco would talk to you today, I think he would talk to you as Archbishop Pamphilo did, as I do, informally, jokingly. It's the style behind this. This is the Salesian Good Shepherd cross. There is what Don Bosco said to his Salesians. The secret all your life, make yourself loved. Studia di farti amare. That's the secret. That's why the approach of the Salesian, playing soccer, it's not for the joy of soccer. It's playing soccer kahit matanda ka ng kaunti. Ano, maglaro ka, ano ka sa mga bata. Why? Because you will win their confidence. You will make yourself loved. Once you are loved, then you can educate. Because education is a matter of the heart. Kung hindi mo mahal yung batang yan, by kahit i-correct mo, babatukan mo, wala, hindi magbabago yan. But kung ma-feel niya na mahal mo siya, talagang magbabago na yan. Dahil sa pagmamahal na pinakikita mo sa kanya.
Bishop, this is so good. We need to pause right here because, well, first off, your coat of arms, it's so inspiring, and I think maybe all families should have their own coat of arms, right? But having said that, your friendship with Archbishop Pamphilo is also very inspiring, and your comment on the charisms of St. John Bosco is even profound, very profoundly inspiring. Kasi po, the way we talk and the way we communicate with each other as a Bosconian, and you as a bishop, speaks of familiarity. And it's no disrespect, but it's because you've shown us what it means to be friends and what it means to be one with us. And so we could relate to you. That kind of charism speaks to the youth. This is the antithesis
of... You want to explain to the audience?
Yeah, we will explain. This is the antithesis of clericalism, which is somewhat present in the Philippines. But we want to talk about the friendship that you had with Archbishop Pamphilo. This is a beautiful picture. Could you tell us more about this?
Yes. Well, we are friends, but we quarreled a lot of times. Huh? But we are the best of friends. I have a great esteem for Bishop Pamphilo. I received his message. I think he's planning to go back to the Philippines to spend the rest of his life there, but I'm not very sure. But he is a model to me. I took him as a model. I never told him though kasi lalaki ang ulo. Siguro ngayon pwede na kasi malapit na kaming mamatay. So pwede rin magbiro. And I took him as a model in my life. And he has a terrific sense of personal relationship. He's very good in that. On one-on-one, I think I beat him on a bigger scale, no, on the ability to talk or entertain. I would compete with him on that. But in humility, in holiness, in wisdom, and prudence, he is also prudent. Well, I am more impulsive. Tapos nagsisisi ako, pero ganyan ang buhay. Hindi naman lahat pareho, di ba? God puts us together not to be the same, to be equal, but to complement each other. And I think he complimented me in many ways in being more patient, more prudent, especially when addressing issues involving people. He is very prudent on that. And what other things can I say? I am the classmate of his brother, Chinto, who is priest, Don Bosco priest, a rector in my place, in my hometown. So I have a very good relationship with the father. Also, I brought my parents to see his parents in his village. And he came to see my father already when he was quite sickly before he died. Yeah, it's a great friendship. We don't talk much. But I have to say one thing here.
Okay.
This time I will pin down Archbishop Pampilo. He said something not very good to me. He said, if you fall down with that plane, I will not come to your burial. He said that. I will not come to your funeral because he doesn't want me to fly. He says, use the boat. Yeah,
Right.
but I was telling him, one of our teachers from the Philippines, in 2011, he died drowned because of going with the boat. And the parish priest, after 2 days, he was able to reach shore. But it's very, very dangerous to go by sea. So I think I prefer to fly. And so Bishop Pampilo also, he has a team which is very poor in the first division in Italy. My team is higher, so I beat him also.
Okay, Bishop, speaking about you as the flying bishop of the South Pacific, you had just mentioned that. I've been meaning to ask you, tell us about it. Tell us how you ended up flying. Of course, that was the most practical way how to reach your sheep. Tell us about it, because it's amazing to see a bishop who flies.
It's the makeup of Solomon Islands, of my diocese. So we have about 50 islands, all spread throughout from a radius of maybe 150 kilometers. So you have to go around to visit all of them. And it's not easy. If you go by boat, yes, I can use an ordinary boat and go, but for 3 years I did it. Then my back was completely destroyed. It's not easy to go by boat. There are lots of dangers and a lot of bombing up and down. And, well, that's a bigger boat we have. Yeah, I tried with that too. But going with the small plane, in 1 hour, I go, I do what I can do, then I come back. Or I can stay, come back the next day. If I go with the boat, it takes 14 hours to go to the same place. If the weather is good, or else you have to stop, wait for the sea to calm down. So this kind of small plane, it is much
practical.
More, you don't spend in fuel. In fuel, if I go by boat, it's 150 liters going, 150 coming back, 300 liters. That's 1.5 drums. And that will be around $300 to $400 US. If I go with my plane, I spend 20 liters going, 20 coming back. So the expense is much, much less. And then I go when I need to go, I come back when I need to come back. It's not that, oh, you're flying bishop, but the excitement of flying actually is the takot of flying. Let's say excitement, last time I spent 1.5 hours in the middle of storms. Good, I have a GPS, or else you don't know where you are. And the GPS hopefully doesn't stop working. It's a small plane. It's expensive like an ordinary truck. I think you can buy it with $40,000 US. So it was sponsored by the Italian bishops. It's a very nice way to travel. Only sometimes it's bad weather. I should not move. Instead, the desire is stronger. So I go and I face the danger, which is not good. But please, Archbishop Pampilo, if you will drown in your boat, I will come to your funeral all the same. So if I die on my plane, please be good Bosconian bishop. Come to my funeral. But I wish I would be the one to pray on your grave, not you on mine.
So we have an announcement here.
Bishop, I'm sure he said that out of concern and fear for you. But looking at the pictures, the Solomon Islands are beautiful. It looks like paradise. And from what I know of the Solomon Islands, truthfully, it's mostly from American history. The Battle of Guadalcanal. But there's much more than that, right? There's strife and poverty in the islands. Could you talk more about that? I said those are challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis.
Yes. I think the real issue of Solomon Island is it's not poverty in itself, because people, they have what they need. They can survive any kind of difficulty. They can jump back. They're very resilient. Just to give you an example, in one island, there was a cyclone, everything was destroyed. Not one died. And everybody was worried because they could not go bring relief goods. Nobody died. They have lots of coconuts, they have lots of things. They have the caves to hide. They have survived generations, very faithful to their traditional culture, and very open, very helpful. I don't think the real problem is poverty. The real issues are the multinationals, especially logging companies, overcutting. And soon there'll be no timber left, no trees, and there is no income in the government. So I think there'll be a big crisis soon, especially now they cut down on timber logging. It will be a problem. But what I can see is we are so lucky we have no COVID. The only case of COVID in Solomon Island, it came from Manila. One of the students who was there studying, before leaving Manila, he was negative. But the things quarantine dito positive. So, and now there are plenty of young people who have to come back. And that's the difficulty with the COVID, but it's contained. We had the opening of our school yesterday, 250 young children, all of them squeezing with each other, no problem with mask, no problem with social distancing. We are so lucky on this. And Solomon Island has been isolated for a long time. And the British have been here for a couple of centuries. So they are majority Anglicans, good number of Methodists. Catholics are the second group, but living together peacefully. If you have a church, you are okay. Whatever church it is, there is mutual respect, understanding, support. Our national anthem is a prayer. God bless Solomon Islands from shore to shore. So that's the inner feeling of being Christians. It's very strong.
Okay, Bishop, we were reviewing the little, the little article that you shared us with the life of women and youth in Solomon Islands. So socially and culturally, we see that the women and the young don't have as much rights or equality in terms of opportunities to decide for themselves. And knowing that as a Salesian shepherd that you are, where you are more inclined to want to develop education, you want to develop more opportunities for growth. How is it challenging for you to see that and then be able to meet in the middle as far as cultural and social concerns are involved?
Yes, one of the problems the British left is they taught people how to drink. And when people drink without control, the first victims are the women. And that is a real scourge. We tried our best to form women's group. The police came and asked the churches to please tell the wives to report the husband to the police. But that's not the solution. You report the violent husband, the next day is out of jail, he goes home, and what will he do? So we still believe, as a Salesian, I believe the best thing to do is to work with young women, with young girls. That's why here, next to my house of the bishop, I built a school, St. Peter's Urban Training Center, for girls and for boys. It's a 2-year course, preparing them for skill in life. And I think this is where I called our sisters, Don Bosco sisters. They're here with us, 3 of them. And they are professionally training these girls to become mothers. And at the same time, we work with the men, making them responsible. What is manhood? Let's try to cancel that idea of macho that they want to show that power when they drink or what. So that's not being a macho. So again, it's education. And we can say that people who come to us for a couple of years, they leave the school. I just give you an example. One girl came, she never looked at me. Good morning, she looks down. She's so ashamed. After 2 years, she didn't know how to read and write. After 2 years, during graduation, she read the first reading in the Mass, full confidence. And she came, shake hands, and saying thank you for the gift of this education. I think that's the only solution. It's a long-range solution, but there is no short range to this issue, which is so strong in Solomon Islands. So much so that if there is a group of men, no women should be inside. Or if a group of men are around, the women should sit down in a lower place. our sisters are very strong here. The Dominican sisters, they are very much inclusive in the language. So they change the songs. Some men rely on their power, no? That beautiful song. So they change people. Some people rely on their power. That effort to change the language, no, in the liturgy also. It will be a long, long struggle. But there are groups of women, they are organizing themselves, and we have also a women's group in the diocese with a very good sister, following programs to upgrade the women so that they will, so to say, fight for themselves, if we can use that word.
Well, God bless you for what you do, Bishop. I mean, I am a witness to the pastoral care and the vocational education that you have provided the youth. I remember when I was in 6th grade, my wife Therese was asking me, why do you call yourself technical college, or what's the technical portion? I said, well, we do other things aside from education. I remember when I was in 6th grade, we were made to do this woodworking project of a toothbrush holder, a Mickey Mouse toothbrush holder. I was poor at it, to tell you honestly. At the end of the day, it didn't look like a toothbrush holder. It didn't even look like Mickey Mouse, but it was something that we did, and it taught us skills. And so that skill set is very important, probably in the population that you serve. I'm very proud. I take pride in having Saint John Bosco as our patron saint, because he's a bad. It almost came out. he's a bad A. He's a tough guy. He's a man's man, right? But in a different way, unlike what you've described. You know, he walked the tightrope. He did circus and shows, and his ask for entrance was prayer. And this is the kind of modeling that you teach the youth. And so thank you for that.
Don Bosco was not a saint. He became a saint. How? Through education. Educating young people, he became a saint. And the people he educated, they also reached sanctity by following him.
Right. So true. I mean, there's so much to say about the life of Saint John Bosco. He was also, speaking about his manhood, I think he even fought some guys who were targeting him because he was also politically divisive. Doesn't that ring a bell in today's society in the Philippines? You know, they call it red tagging. His life is just so relevant today. It's all I want to say.
Yeah, Bishop, listening to your story of being sent in an island that is so tiny. We're actually in the Oceania, in your Solomon Islands. We have a globe here, and then I could see, where is Solomon Islands just an hour before this conversations. It's even like 1 centimeter of,
Very
it's
small.
so small, and yet you are there right now. And then
right in the middle of the Pacific.
Exactly. And then compare it to all this vastness of these countries, of these continents. You're wanting to be there for the poor, where you're needed the most, the charism, the aura, the spirit of Don Bosco, being there where God needs you to be. And still even doing that as a bishop, even flying, and you just said the desire is there even when you know dangerously you wouldn't want to fly, but yet you still did. I feel like asking you, or even as if it's St. John Bosco, what would you say today to the young, especially in the Philippines, kasi doon po kayo nang galing, at lalo na majority of our audience now are in the Philippines right now. What would you say to the young of today in Don Bosco, or maybe even the Jude's batch mates? Because the moral ethics of today is a little challenged and difficult. Right. What would you say to them and to us as families?
Right. Before I say that, can I put the power pack, because my battery is going down?
Sige po,
Can I?
Bishop.
Sige po.
Okay. Let me look for it if I find it.
While the bishop is doing that, we are interviewing the flying bishop.
He's so cute.
Yeah,
Bishop, ang
I know.
cute-cute niyo.
Dati he was jokingly called the James West of the Philippines.
Pakita mo yung picture. Sino si James West?
James West, I don't have it.
Wala.
But wanted to say hi to a couple of guys
Yes,
here.
yes.
Eduardo Enriquez. Mabilis umaksyon sa lahat ng activities. Yan si Capo.
Parang ano parang...
Puri Villegas, Mars Manari, Leticia Sastre, Salome Catulong.
So, let me see.
Okay. Nakuha po niyo yung battery pack niyo, Bishop?
Baka walang battery din yan.
We don't want to lose you.
Okay. All right. Where are we?
You're
Okay.
back.
Messaging po. I was just greeting. Si Will, there's a guy here. His name is Will Jack. Hello, Father Capelli from Batch 91. Anyway.
Father Sebastian.
Yeah. Bishop, Therese was asking, I know we're winding down, but maybe you have a message for the Filipino folk, for Bosconians,
And for everyone.
all over the world, for families out there.
About morality, about how do we discern what is right from wrong nowadays? Because it seems to us right now, what is right is wrong, what is wrong is right.
Right. I think the real secret of Don Bosco would be to go deep in our faith, the education to the faith, which means not only indoctrinating, but it means being a living model of what we preach. It's not what we say, but it's how we relate to people. Values are not taught, they are caught by, and they cannot be forced. No, they cannot be, it's only by diffusion. As a biology teacher, it's my favorite process. Diffusion, which is passage of molecules from high to low concentration until you have an equilibrium. Now that's the secret. Let's live what we preach. Let's show, and without getting tired if there are no results, we keep on showing that we believe that our faith is alive, that our daily life is a liturgy, putting God in everything. That was Don Bosco. What he learned from his mother. In the morning, look at the sun. God gives us a new day. In the evening, the stars. And it's all a vision of faith. So that Alcius, to have a dream, I am a resource in the hands of God. Now, if we are convinced of that, then we look for ways and means how to do some kind of technology on how to do it. So, but the fire of the love of God in our hearts as educators, which it's transparent, it diffuses, it affects other people, whether they like it or not. They see it in you and they are inspired to be like you. So that's the solution.
Beautifully said. I like the part where you said values are caught and they're not taught.
Yeah.
Our daily life is a liturgy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are great parting words. Salamat po, Bishop Capelli.
We would like to ask you. Yeah.
See, yeah. You were saying something. Yeah.
No, and I was curious if maybe in the near future, you know, we can invite you again. Maybe a very particular topic like poverty and suffering will be nice. Yeah. You know, something that is something that is in your mission right now that we could learn so much from. Because we be reminded of that every single day if we call ourselves Catholics and Christians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, since we are on Zoom, you can call Archbishop Pampilo, so the two of us together will be stronger.
We can do that. We can do that. Naku, that would be great, Bishop. Bishop, can we ask you to bless us and pray for us and the Bosconians out there and the Filipino people before we part ways?
Yes. We close our eyes, put ourselves in God's presence, and we let Him know what we truly feel, what we truly need. God our Father, you have been so good to us, to me in particular. Bless all the Bosconians who have passed through all the Don Bosco schools. Give them that vision of their life that will enable them to feel you have chosen them. They are resources in your hands for the fulfilling of your mission. Give them the strength and the courage to make the option of your kingdom as the main option of their lives. Fill them with this power of love that they may translate all this energy into logistics in their daily lives by living their lives minute after minute, living them as a liturgy, praising you, thanking you. Bless each and every one of those who suffer, the lonely, the elderly, the youth who lost their meaning in life, and bless Jude and Therese and all those who strive with their best energy to build your kingdom. May the blessing of God Almighty come upon you all, dear Bosconians and friends, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
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 Salamat po, Bishop. Ingat po kayo dyan.
Bolero! Huwag ka nang magbola-bola dyan. Bye-bye. Bye. God bless.
Maraming salamat.
God bless
We
po.
love
God
you.
bless you.
God bless you.
Paano ba ma-open to?
Doon po sa...
Wala na.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Oh, hindi, nag-off lang po kayo.
Okay.
On the right lower corner po, Bishop, meron pong leave. Then you can leave. Or you can stay with us until the end if you want. Anyway, folks, that was my beloved Bishop.
Yes, Bishop
Luciano Capelli, one of my soccer heroes, along with Archbishop Panfilo. Very influential in our lives, in the lives of many thousands of Bosconians out there. He and his kind are the epitome of what priesthood should be, the antithesis of clericalism, focusing more on relationships more than anything.
Yeah, gusto ko man mag-Tagalog, but we have many people from here who are listening to us. And I thought for me, thank you for introducing Bishop to me and to many of us here. We need inspiring souls like them, especially in today's difficult world where it's hard to see which one is the way to Christ. What do we do as families? What do we do as parents? What do we do as teachers? But to be humble, to be there, concentrating on how to get to heaven just by doing the mission work that wherever you are. I think that is really a visible example, a practical example.
So true and so relevant today, right? Anyway, salamat po. We wanted to greet, Pauline, hi.
Hi, Pauline.
We wanted to greet Deng and Otts.
Yes,
happy birthday, two of our missionaries.
Yeah, volunteers po sa Empire Philippines, Otts and Deng and Ate Jean and Epi, everybody who celebrated January for this month. And again, maraming salamat po sa inyo and for being here. Yeah, we have not been able to do every week, like weekend busy coffee conversations like in the past. We've been trying to do it at least 2 a month because hindi naman po talaga ito yung pinaka main core of mission work, but we are here. We are still offering you more exciting coffee conversations, which leads us to next February. We will have
Abby Johnson.
no, it's Father Chris Ayler.
Oh, Father Chris Ayler.
So we have
We'll
Father
post it.
Chris Ayler and Father Chris Ayler of the Divine Mercy, the National Shrine of Divine Mercy in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. You would love him. And then the other one is Abby Johnson of amazing woman who defends the unborn. If you have seen the movie Unplanned, which is the opposite of Planned Parenthood, she used to work for Planned Parenthood where they abort babies, and she quit after seeing the baby move in the ultrasound, and we would have her this coming February. So please stay tuned. God has been giving us grace upon grace of guests, and we hope that you'll always stay tuned here. It's just Jude and me and our son Sky, but with the grace of God, we have these coffee conversations. And maraming salamat talaga for Bishop Luciano Capelli for this.
Tama-tama po, because feast day ni St. John Bosco tomorrow. So
yes.
Happy feast day to my fellow Bosconians and the Bosconians of the world. Maraming salamat for joining us. God bless you, empowerers. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po.